It was just as Alice said. By the time Soujuurou arrived, it was already over. The old school building's wooden boards had survived the elements for decades, but they were not ready for a mage duel. Well, neither was Soldier. The entrance door hung off its hinges. The floorboards groaned. The stairs were ready to collapse underfoot. Aoko's escape and Aoko's pursuit had left a trail of destruction leading all the way to the second floor. The chaos continued to the end of the hallway, with the stairs to the third floor. Aoko sat in a heap with her back against the wall. Despite her injuries, she kept her eyes firmly on Aoko. She was bleeding internally and had multiple broken bones. She would not be moving anytime soon. Possibly damaged by Aoko's flying kick, her mystic eyes had ruptured from within, closing them indefinitely. Despite her battered and broken body, she was still breathing steadily, a testament to her stubbornness. Before her stood Aoko, staring down at her, uninjured.
屋上までは持つと思っていたんだが。
Aoko was trying not to be facetious. She sounded genuinely disappointed. Aoko responded with a cold glare. Her azure eyes had not changed one bit. They were callous as ever, yet undeniably beautiful. From where she stood, Aoko held her hand out towards Toko. Like a hunter about to put a wooden prey out of its misery. The victor was decided. The mage came to steal land and got the death sentence from her for her trouble. The silence was disquieting. A moonlight peered through the demolished ceiling, illuminating the two sisters with its stare. The utterly mad sibling squabble was over. Now the fireworks were finished, and the cold wind had returned to claim the old school building.
何か言い残すことはある?
Aoko's voice cut through the silence. Aoko thought for a moment, before lightly patting her coat pocket. Nothing. She frowned.
最後に一服と思ったが、あいにくお前を待っている間に吸い切ってしまってね。日本のタバコはうますぎていけない。
Aoko gave a small nod.
なかなか常人には真似できない遺言だったわ。
待て待て。いくら私でも遺言まで謎かけをする気はないよ。お望み通り、敗者は敗者らしく当倍をあげるから聞くといい。
Toko's voice was laden with sarcasm, but not hostility or hatred. Perhaps her vendetta was not directed at Aoko herself, but rather a product of two sisters born into a mage family.
青崎の魔法が時間旅行に端を発するものとは思わなかった。まだ事情がありそうだが、当事者ではない私には何ともね。ボンプにはわからない悩みだ。せいぜい大事に付き合っていけばいいさ。しかし10年経ってもそれでは先が思いやられる。アリスは何をしていたんだか。
アリスにしてはよく付き合ってくれた方よ。 魔術師としてはいつまでも半人前っていうのが彼女の結論。けどまあそうね。あの狼とならいい勝負をしたんじゃない？
あれはダメだ。敗北を知ってしまった。もう完全じゃない。半人前に値で勝っていようが、魔法の前には得意性を見失うだろう。ところで青子、お前の魔法とやらは手段か、それとも結果か。
Doka wanted to know if it came before or came after. Did Doka need magic to get her where she needed to go? Or did she obtain magic as a result of reaching that place?
あとよ。私は扉の前で尻尾を巻いたからジジイの思惑なんて知らないけど。
第一魔法と同じ経緯か。ますます業が深い。第2から第4はその場所へ到達するために生み出されたものと聞く。同族嫌悪は世の常だ。いずれ第一と食い合わなければいいのだがね。しかし扉ときたか。魔法の継承とはパスの継承のようだな。ではやはりここにユミルの入り口があると。
北欧かぶれのあなたにとってはね。私にとっては赤社の門と言えるものよ。最初からそれを狙っていたんでしょ、あなたは。
Doka used every ounce of strength she could find to nod.
望めば手に入るというのに何代も待つのは嫌だったんだ。ソフトはそれで決別したようなものだったよ。青崎に対する復讐心はそれには優先されなかった。まあ全ては終わったことだ。もう語る必要はない。最後に根源に触れた感想が聞きたいな。
Doka spoke after taking a deep breath. Her last words showed no trace of hatred. Aoko remained silent as she began raising her right hand up high. She recalled her grandfather's words, the source of true magic. Revealing one's knowledge or impressions of the root was strictly forbidden. But this was her sister's dying wish. Maybe it would be okay. The conversation would end the moment she brought her arm down. Then, this rotting shell of a building would become her sibling's tomb. What harm could it do? And it's not like she planned to follow her grandfather's rules anyway.
白状するとね、姉さん。
Aoka's voice carried through the blue hallway.
正直、全然わからなかったわ。
Aoko gave a blunt reply and brought her arm down like a bolt of lightning. Or at least, she tried to. Soldier boy. Yep. Her arm wouldn't listen to her. It wouldn't budge. Budge.
何のつもり？
Cursing Alice, Aoko sped her question out with venom. Soujuurou materialized from behind, taking hold of her raised arm. Though unable to express it, Doka was shocked to see him too.
手、離して。
Without looking at him, or even at her restrained hand, Aoko spoke sternly, her eyes forward. Come to think of it, at the amusement park he appeared out of nowhere to protect her from that puppet.
聞こえなかった。二度はないわよ。
She was not bluffing. If he interfered, even he would be given no mercy. I've decided to let you live. It would go against that promise, but he should know better. Even so, he maintained his grip on her arm.
いい加減に。
As Aoko turned around, the word told caught in her throat. She immediately regretted looking at him. She saw herself in his expression. Oh wow, I have red hair? Mournful sadness. Judgmental anger. His conflicting emotions spoke to her of her own internal struggle. Voicelessly, quietly, without variation. Rustic gray eyes questioning a deep sin.
言いたいことがあるならはっきり口にしなさい。それができないなら消えて。
Soujuurou gently released Aoko's arm as she maintained her resolve. They locked eyes, neither friend nor foe. Their bitterness clashed without words. And then suddenly,
人殺しはいけないことだ。
yeah. Soujuurou stated in that matter-of-fact way but Aoko had become all too familiar. His words were empty, trite even. And yet, given her current state, they reached her. Although she would soon forget the fragments of Soujurou's memories, they made her painfully aware of how he felt. Still, she could not agree with him. It would come back to bite her. If she let Aoko go now, her sister would come for her again. She had already made 2 attempts in her life. Aoko did not have it in her to forgive her sister for what she had done. Above all, just as Toko said, if Aoko did not change, she would be a novice forever. She had not even won her first mage battle yet. And she knew putting down a blood relative would require even more conviction. Nevertheless, Wolverine's words echoed over and over in her heart. Murder is wrong, such a childish phrase, but the earnestness with which he said it was enough to make her sick. Resisting, Aoko glowered at Soujuurou.
だから殺されたくせにその相手までかばうっていうのあんたは。元気になったら懲りずにやってくる殺人鬼が相手でも見逃してやれっていうの？
まさかそこまで言ったら聖者だ。自分にはそこまでのことは言えない。
But he would probably still let her go. He did not think that Toko would change. He also did not care to rationalize her actions based on her life. He was simply thankful. Thankful that this person before him was still alive. You seem pretty damn saintly to me! Have you seen his killer eyes? That was what had made Aoko so angry. His overwhelming innocence and self-righteousness enraged her. Like the Hall of Mirrors was happening all over again. But then again, he didn't kill them animals, but still. The only difference was now she knew why he was acting like this. It was because she had taken a part of him. He took a step forward, passing by her, saying words he knew he should not.
仕返しなら殺された人間がやるのが筋だろう。 君を止められないのは分かってる。だから青崎がやるぐらいなら俺がやる。
Oh shit, that's easy with time, I guess. That is unexpected, but they're severely gonna deal with. It was difficult to discern who was the more pathetic in all of this. Aoko, who had been staring at them the whole time, closed their other eye as if drifting off to sleep.
ごめんなさい、トウコさん。
Knowing her fate, Toko dropped her head as best she could as he walked towards her.
そうだな。君にはそれもいいかもしれない。今は特殊な状況だから、冷めた後に君がどれほど悔やむことになるか想像もできない。ただ、それで君の停滞は終わるだろう。晴れてみそぎ落としというわけだ。純粋に祝福してあげられる。気に食わないのは、それを決意させたのが私ではなかったということぐらいか。
She knew that Soujuurou could not understand. Her words hanging in the air, she closed her lips tightly. Then weakly stuck out her slender neck. Soujuurou took another step forward. Before he could do anything, Aoko moved. Spinning in front of Soujuurou, she caught up her magical energy and swung her hand as hard as she could. The sound of her slapping his face echoed through the hall, along with his staggering steps.
青崎。
痛い。
こんな卑怯者。
What? Tears of anger welling in her eyes, Aoko turned her back to Soujuurou, sulking as though she would kill him as soon as she looked at him again.
他人の記憶を取り込んだ代償か。引きずられたな、青子。
そうよ。自分の意志を人に曲げられるのがこんなに悔しいなんて知らなかった。
That was about all Aoko could muster in response. The corners of Toko's lips curled into a grin.
何がおかしいのよ、あなた。
いや、お前にも人並みの情けがあるとは思っていなくてね。バカ呼ばわりは訂正しておくよ。他人の理想を背負うのに怯えるなんて、10年経っても可愛いじゃないか。
あんたね。
そう睨むな。今のは心からの賛辞だ。で、私をどうする？彼に殺させるか、それとも見逃すか？
仕方ないでしょ。あなたの言う通り、これが何よりの代償だったんだから。
Aoko said begrudgingly, shooting Soujuurou a sideways glance. He seemed to have recovered from the slap, and his usual absent-minded look had returned. He may have had no memories of his past, but his morals and values were too deep to be erased. Soujuurou was trying to violate those. It would eat away at him forever. And he would be doing it not for himself, but for Aoko. Aoko understood this all too well now. The moment he said he would do it was the moment he lost. Not stopping him would be no different than watching him die. And she would lose something important inside her. Aoko did not want that to happen.
青崎、やっぱりその自分の受けた傷は自分で返さないと気が済まない性格か？
Aoko ignored Soujuurou, who seemed to have gotten the wrong idea. Instead, she directed her scout at Toka, who still lay collapsed in front of her.
わかったわよ。トウコ、今回は見逃してあげる。けど、ただで帰れるとは思ってないわよね。
Toka scowled at her little sister, standing smugly over her.
祖父のところに突き出すのなら、ここで引導を渡してくれ。
まさか、私もあの人には会いたくないもの。あなたにはこのまま出て行ってもらうわ。邪魔もしないし、教会に届けも出さない。律子は私が言い含めておくから、今回の件は私たちだけの秘密よ。
Toka's brow creased further. There had to be a catch.
青子、何を企んでいる？
別に。その代わりに呪いをプレゼントしようと思って。今まで散々ガンド食らってきたし、おあいこでしょ。まあ、私のはちょっと強力だけど。今後この土地に入ろうものなら、マダガスカルガエルになってもらうわ。
Smiling as if they had just arranged to eat Chinese food tomorrow night, Aoko walked towards Toka.
待て。なんでそういうものだけ習得してるんだ、お前は。
そりゃ師匠がアリスだもの。偏るのは当然でしょ。
Yes, she ducked. The elder Aozaki sister's brow knitted so hard that it could have produced a sweater. Perhaps this is why her sister would stay a novice forever?
宗十郎、席外して。覗き見が趣味なら別に見ていってもいいけど。
As she spoke, she began removing her sister's outer coat. An uncomfortable look in Toka's eyes compared to the strangely cheerful one in Aoko's caused Soujuurou to hesitate. Was it really okay to leave the two of them alone? Eventually, he nodded. This was just a weird game between sisters.
覗き見は確かにいい趣味じゃないな。
Muttering more to himself than anything, he ducked into an empty classroom.
なんだそのブサイクで悪趣味な術式は。センスがないにも程がある。お前本当に私の妹か？
ええ、この通り芸術的才能は全部姉貴に持っていかれた哀れな妹でして、嘆くなら自分の天才性を嘆きなさい。どうか
Down the cold, dilapidated hallway, cries of sadness, joy, and anguish rang out. Outside, the fully bloomed white flower petals floated one by one into the night. Standing among the ballad of petals, Alice gazed up at the sky. The blossoms gathered into a cloud that slowly vanished, as though falling asleep. Soon, not a single flower would remain, and the clearing would return to a snowy tundra. The magic had ended. In a matter of minutes, the path would return to its rightful place. Along with it, the time shared between the boy and the girl. The old school building was still. Alice embraced the silence and patiently waited. After a while, Soujuurou emerged from the building, and Alice relieved a puff of white breath. A small sigh of relief. It was over. Soujuurou approached, carrying Aoko, cradling her in his arms. Was she asleep? Her eyes were closed and she seemed peaceful. Her hair and limp body dangled like a silk drape. She looked just like Sleeping Beauty.
待っていてくれたんだ、アリス。
He said, holding Aoko with little effort. Alice nodded.
瞳子さんはどうなったの？
いや、よくわからないけど、瞳子さんは帰ったよ。青崎が言うには、そう簡単に解除できない呪いをかけたから、向こう10年は三崎市には入ってこれないって。その後、瞳子さんが尻尾を巻くのを仁王立ちで見届けて、見えなくなったらそのまま倒れたんだ。
Alice's response was brief, as if she was wondering if things were really so simple. She seemed more concerned about Toko and than Aoka, which made Soujuurou concerned about Alice and Aoka's relationship more than anything.
それはともかくとして、
I better go back to maybe to that broken building. I'm about to fall apart and die for.
青子はどうなっているんだろう。
Sorry. Yeah. Maybe the magic took a toll on her and she passed out. He asked nonchalantly as he looked at Aoko, breathing deeply in her sleep.
矛盾と清純を合わせているのね。彼女の時間は今の時間とは異なってしまったから。歯車を合わせるまで目は覚めないわ。
Oh. Soujuurou nodded in understanding, very clearly still not comprehending a word Alice had just said.
なんか拍子抜けしたよ。結局、瞳子さんと青崎、どっちが勝ったのかよくつかめない。
そうね。魔術師の争いには明確な点数はつけられないから。どちらが強いかで勝負はつかないわ。瞳子さんの大目的が青崎の魔法の解明なら、魔法を使わされた時点で青子の負けよ。その後のいざこざは凱旋する勝者を夜道で襲ったようなものだし。
Alice said as she turned her sights to the forest. Even Soujuurou could tell that that was Alice's way of saying, "Let's go home."
そうだね。青崎もアリスもこのままじゃ風邪をひく。
Well, except for Soujuurou, he doesn't have a nose.
ああ、それと青崎が瞳子さんに呪いをかけるとき何かしてたんだけど。
I could see breasts? Girl's breast for the first time? What the hell were you doing? Could you tell me that, Alice? Soujuurou trailed off, hoping Alice would tell him what it was. But a stony and somewhat affected gaze was her response.
見たの？しずきくん。
いや、青崎が出てけって。
そう。それで青子はどんな呪いをかけたの？
カエルがどうとか。
Soujuurou's explanation made Alice's expression darken. Aoko was still a long way from here, learning any sort of polymorph spells.
そ
Her thoughts prevented from finishing the sentence. In actuality, it was perfectly within Aoko's abilities, considering where she was in time at that moment. As Aoko had said, Taka would not be able to dispel the curse for 10 years. And Aoko of this time had not the ability to use such a curse, which meant Toko did not have anyone to rebound the curse to. No matter how much she researched dispelling powerful curses, she could not do it with the Aoko of this timeline.
青子が瞳子さんにつけたのは切り傷ぐらいだから、しずきくんが心配するようなことはないわ。青子にしては随分と生ぬるい処置だけど。
After her slightly unsettling remark, Alice quietly began to walk. Soujuurou followed her, Aoko in his arms. Together, they left the clearing and moved into the forest. As they did, Soujuurou abruptly froze.
しずきくん、
He looked back towards the old school buildings filled with a strange expression. Was it homesickness he felt? No, this was only his second time seeing it. He had a nostalgic feeling, like he would never be back. He looked like a child saying goodbye to an old toy that was to be thrown away. Seeing his expression, Alice felt a hint of sympathy and chided herself.
あの荒れ地がどうかした？
She asked him, watching the flowery garden fade into a snowy field. Soujuurou shook his head.
なんとなく知っている場所に似てる気がして。おかしいな。やってきた時はそんな気はしなかったのに。
He stood staring at the tundra for what seemed like an eternity, reluctant to leave. If she left him there, he would still be gazing at it by morning, probably even longer. But there was no point in doing that. In the end, Alice was the only one who would remember the beautiful scenery he yearned for.
ここはその場所にそんなに似てる？
全然似てない。面影すら皆無だ。
なら、それは気の迷いよ。
Soujuurou nodded at Alice's harsh conclusion. He smiled slightly, deciding it was pointless to want something that did not exist.
そうだね。多分幻を見ていたんだ。あれは一度幸福だった時の夢だった。
Severing the ties that bound him, Soujuurou turned his back away from the snowy clearing. Away from the unfamiliar yet familiar place where he had known happiness.
さあ、早く帰ろう。青崎は重いし、体も疲れてる。洋館に着いたらあったかいお茶を入れよう、アリス。
Soujuurou spoke your name with a smile. Her heart skipped a beat. Since when did he start saying her name so casually like that? Somehow she managed to nod before beginning to walk again. As he moved away from her, she asked a small question to his back.
重いって、私より。
Aoko was a bit taller than Alice, so naturally she would wait more, but Alice wanted to hear him say it anyway. Not one to disappoint, Soujuurou answered without missing a beat.
ああ、数値的に言うのならアリスより10キロ増しぐらい。
I'm a kilogram guy. Oh, but about 9 kilograms.
そう。青子が聞いてたら大変ね。
Yay. Just by Alice's tone, she was probably going to tell Aoko later.
意地が悪いな、アリスも。それに、さっきのは本人の名誉のために死者誤入してたんだぞ、一応。
Oh, I'm gonna tell the children as well. His attempts at being kind had likely drawn him closer to his deathbed.
ダメかな。
No. He asked nervously. Alice could not help but crack a smile at his innocence. However, she was not used to smiling in front of others, so she turned away and walked into the woods. From Soujuurou's perspective, she was storming off in a mood.
なんだ。友達の悪口で怒るなんて やっぱり仲はいいんじゃないか、青崎。
Oh yeah, totally. Soujuurou rushed to catch up with Alice, gently carrying a log. Big fat log. And Aoko along the way. Hello, y'all. But the prince lacked the courage to kiss the sleeping princess. He had at least saved her, and was bringing her back to her castle. Despite what he had been through, he did not look like your typical hero. Still, in the story at least, he most certainly was. A Tale of the Star. It's gonna be our next chapter. Which, I'm kinda lost. In what chapter? What chapter did we just finish? Okay, please tell us. Chapter 12, so it's gonna be the very last one. Huh. After that, we have not unlocked anything new in the archive. Still don't have anything new in the boys section, which there should be maybe 3 more, at least according to accidentally finding out that there was like a 5th one. I don't know. Maybe it's after we finish the game. Whatever case, we're gonna start the last chapter in the next episode. So thank you for watching, and subscribe is free. Thank you.